STV Campus Profile, taking a closer look at UNC students, their problems, their controversies, and their lives. This week, Kristen Parker features two very special fall sports other than football. Hope Buffington looks into installing cable on campus. Is it really a controversy? And Lisbeth Levine asks students their own opinions concerning the most expensive Senate race in U.S. history.
UNC is widely known for its exceptional athletic program, but there are more athletic programs at Carolina than the two primary revenue sports, football and basketball. Today we are going to look at two very successful fall sports that sometimes get overlooked. These are field hockey and women's soccer. The University of North Carolina women's soccer team is, in a word, perfection. The ladies soccer team has won 3 consecutive national championships, beginning back in 1981 and continuing through last year. And it looks as though the Lady Tar Heels might be headed for their 4th national championship. UNC's soccer team has become the example for other college teams and has made a name for itself in the NCAA record books. Although it would seem impossible to improve on the past, Coach Anson Dorrance, who is responsible for turning this program around during his 3 years at Carolina, insists that this year's team should be even stronger than last year's, which finished with a record of 19-1. This is quite conceivable, since all of last year's starters have returned again this year. This UNC team has perhaps the best front line in women's soccer today, with All-Americans Amy Mackin and Joan Dunlap, plus sophomore standout April Heinrichs. There should not be any problems staying on top. We talked with April Heinrichs, who led the UNC women's soccer team in overall scoring last year. She also set a record for the most goals in the NCAA Final Four tournament on the way to last year's national championship. April, how does it feel to be a key member on this national championship team after not being offered a scholarship until a year after you'd completed high school?
Well, I was pretty happy when Anson called my house and told me that he was thinking about offering a scholarship. He sounded real, happy that he had found me and that hopefully I could help the team out in some way or another. Well, so far we've won 6 games, and 2 of them were teams in the top 10 ranking, and we played exceptionally well. It was a tournament with 2 games in 2 days. And as far as myself, I feel like I'm doing okay, but I'd like to play a little better. Well, we're real excited because the Nationals are being held here November 17th and 18th, and we're hoping that the crowd can bring us, our 5th consecutive championship, and we're looking real forward to it. So everybody's real excited, and the enthusiasm and emotions are real high right now.
Coach Anson Dorrance feels that there is always room for improvement on his championship women's team.
I think we can always improve. We went to a tournament this last weekend in the D.C. area and played University of Missouri St. Louis, and we played Wisconsin-Madison. One thing that excited us about the tournament is we won both games by wide margins. But the interesting thing is we didn't play well. And it shows the kind of team that we have. If we can play against 2 basically top-rated teams, as UMSL and Wisconsin-Madison are, and beat them by wide margins and not play well, I think that shows the kind of strength we have. But even the girls feel that if we concentrate a little more and play with a little more composure, we can raise the level of our game. So that's our ambition this week in preparation for the ACC tournament this weekend. Well, soccer is a bizarre game. You can completely dominate a team and outshoot them, 40-1 and lose 1-0. Every time you play, there's a chance you might lose. And there are a lot of factors involved. And sure, with the quality of players we have, I think the odds are in our favor. But there's a possibility if another team gets up for us and plays effectively and we don't finish the chances we're given, that we can be knocked off.
Field hockey at the University of North Carolina is one of the most successful fall sports. UNC's field hockey team has become a perennial top 20 team, finishing 10th in the nation last year with a record of 13-4-1. This year's season has gotten off to a good start as the Tar Heels upset 5th-ranked Massachusetts and scored wins over Virginia Commonwealth, Appalachian State, Springfield, and Duke. Currently, the field hockey team is 6-1 and ranked 8th in the nation. This success is due largely to the fact that all but 2 starters from last year's squad have returned this year. But Carolina's toughest opponent, Old Dominion University, still lies ahead. We talked to UNC field hockey coach Karen Shelton, who is in her 4th year at Carolina, and who also played on the 1984 United States Olympic field hockey team, which won a bronze medal.
Well, I think, Kristen, my team is very experienced. Most of the girls have been with us at least 1 season, and a few of the veterans. I have 6 starters that are seniors this year that have been with me for 4 years. Our experience is very high, and so far this season that experience has paid off. I do foresee us having a very good chance at the ACC tournament this year. We're ranked presently right now 5th in the country, and the next closest team in the ACC is Maryland, and I believe they're 14th.
In addition to ACC competition, top-ranked Old Dominion handed UNC 3 of their 4 losses last season.
Well, ODU is unquestionably the #1 team in the country. They have a great coach in Beth Anders, and their program has been one of the tops for the past 3-4 years. Old Dominion will be very good this year, but our team has improved. And also those girls remember those losses last year.
When you think of fall sports, think of UNC women's field hockey and women's soccer. Remember, there are other sports besides football. For STV Campus Profile, this is Kristen Parker.
Wednesday afternoon, the Telecommunications Task Force met to receive instructions from Wayne Kunsel, Director of University Housing.
I asked a number of people to serve on a task force, one representative from our telecommunications office on campus, student representatives from RHA, hopefully a representative from CGC, and members of my housing staff. And the major purpose of the group is, within a very short period of time, to make a recommendation to me in terms of what direction we should be going with regard to cable television.
Kunsel charged the force to study the possibility of cable in the dormitories and come up with suggestions by the end of October.
At the October 3rd meeting, what I'll do is give a charge to this task force, essentially, that helps them understand what they're to do and what the timeline is all about. And basically, we're concerned that if we are going to make any kind of improvement or raise the standards of what we provide for students in the residence halls and have dollar implications, we need to have that information in order to establish rates for next year and begin our budgeting process.
It was a good idea in dorms because like you said, you get a lot better reception, and plus you get a lot more stations, a lot more variety, and also you can get a lot of these educational programs that this school offers.
Steve Harwood, telecommunication manager for UNC, thinks cable TV is needed at the university.
The broadband system came about because there was a need to have improved data communications. There was a need to link Duke University to a classroom on campus for the purpose of this teleclassroom. And there were a number of other related needs. We projected that entertainment TV might someday be one of those needs.
Student Television's Tim Sullivan insists that many students want cable in the dorms.
The facts speak for themselves. It's going to be a tough job, but it's something that needs to be done, and it's something, if there's a commitment on all sides, will be done. And the commitment is there by us. We're there, and we want to help in any way possible. And I think the students are ready to pay for it, and I know Village Cable is ready to send it. And there's no reason that University of North Carolina shouldn't have a grand cable system on its campus.
It'd be fine if you put one in the lounge of a dormitory. I'm sure everybody would get a kick out of that.
Do you think there should be cable in dormitories?
Yes, definitely. I think we should have cable in our residence halls. Putting cable in the residence halls would provide us an opportunity to use that cable in a number of ways. The obvious one that the students apparently have an interest in right now is for access to cable television, but also I'm concerned about the opportunities for data transmission with this computerized generation we're into, and also long-term the implications for telephone and other types of transmission.
I just think it would be nice there's lots of times there's not a lot of movies or things around. I think it make more people stay around, and you know, a lot of people that are young freshmen can't go out and drink and stuff, and to give you something to do maybe.
I think cable should be in the dormitories, and if so, or if not, why?
Well, I think that I suppose I'm opposed to it. In part because I suppose that the expense is likely to be quite great, and it's not obvious to me that the advantages outweigh the expense.
Cost is a big issue in this cable controversy, but many students seem willing to have cable in the dorms if it doesn't cost too much. How much will it cost, and who is going to pay for it? Programming Director of STV, John Wilson, thinks that cable in the dorms is monetarily possible.
Say you are charged $12 a month for the services of cable. That is a wholesale rate. There are 100 students sharing this cost in a commons room, in a common TV room in, say, a high-rise like South Campus. That would be 12 cents a student a month. Now, the big cost comes in the installation. Steve Harwood has said $50,000. I know from talking with him that that's the highest it could possibly be.
$50,000 was a figure developed for serving South Campus dorms. It would cost in excess of $500,000 based on our cost studies from the Phase 1 implementation to expand the existing cable system throughout the rest of the campus.
Well, certainly $500,000 would mean that we have some real limitations in terms of how we pay for those expenses, whether we borrow money in order to do that, or whether we raise those rates dramatically in 1 year's time to pay for construction costs.
To install just the cable itself underground will be at least $500,000. That figure, however, does not include equipment or charges for monthly programming.
Several cost elements included in the cable system. One is the outside plant distribution, and that's the $500,000 figure. Second is equipment. The equipment could include what is located here at the Bennett building. There would also be some type of program fee. For example, if we were to buy the signal from Village Cable, we would have to pay Village Cable some fee for the use of that signal.
Even though a majority of students favor and are willing to pay for cable, others fear that cable will be a costly distraction.
I think that the cable system is really needed, to tell you the truth. I think for me it would be an obstruction to my getting anything done.
We have greater needs than cable television. But I know darn well that if we have cable television capability, or if we have cable access capability, that opens the door to a lot more things than MTV. That means data transmission, students' ability to access the computer center for purposes. It means possibly instructional use of television, where students have access from the residence halls.
The cable that is currently planned to be laid underground, if there is to be cable in the dormitories, will be able to function in 3 different capacities.
Data communications from a university administrative standpoint really is the high priority. Entertainment TV certainly for the students' interest is a priority. There are no immediate plans to do anything with voice, meaning telephone type communications. However, that is technologically possible.
The university now has cable connecting the academic buildings on campus. Called First Phase, the cable system transmits classroom lectures between Duke University and UNC in the computer science department.
Yeah, Phase 1 is not finished. Phase 1, the construction of Phase 1 was finished early fall. Classroom actually was conducted last academic year, starting in September. It's continuing again this fall. So Phase 1 is being used. However, the portion of Phase 1 which we are attempting to purchase equipment for use for data communications purposes has not been concluded yet.
RHA President Mark Stafford feels that the 3 capacities in the cable system will provide better choices for its use in the future.
This telecommunications committee is also working with computers and the future for them. So, and a lot of the thinking is if we have to dig up the ground once to lay cable lines, why not dig it up at the same time and lay the computer lines? Very good chance that by August of 1985, next year, you can go into your dorm lounge and watch television and get cable channels. We're getting, I think Dr. Kuntzel, the Director of Housing, the administration wants to move in the next month very quickly to see that we do that. So yes, I think we can see it, and I think we want it.
Terrific.
I mean, why not?
This is Hope Buffington with STV Campus Profile.
Ms. Helms raised a dumb boy maybe, but not a stupid one. I knew when I walked down the aisle and changed my vote that you would do precisely what you've been doing and what you're doing tonight. But I had to cast one for my country because that vote saved an estimated $30 to $40 billion in a combination of taxes and spending. Now I ask you, what would you have done, knowing that the tax increase was going to be in whatever tax bill, and there was going to be a tax bill? What would you have done, Governor? Would you have just sat back and played the political side of it?
Jesse, you may have done one for your country, but you sure didn't do one for North Carolina and for the tobacco farmers and their families and the cigarette factory workers in this state. It did not have to be. You can't come in here and hand us that business it was going to be anyhow. The bill was lost. The cigarette part was lost.
I'm Liz Levine for STV Campus Profile. The race between Republican incumbent Senator Jesse Helms and Democratic challenger Governor James B. Hunt Jr. has been called the hottest Senate race in the nation. Although the latest Gallup poll shows Helms with a slight lead over Hunt, the race is still neck and neck, and uncommitted voters are expected to play a key role in the election. So for this week's Speak Out, we decided to ask people on the UNC campus the same question that Helms has been asking Hunt throughout the campaign. Where do you stand? If today were Election Day, who would you vote for in the North Carolina Senate race, Hunt or Helms?
Hunt.
And why is that?
Mostly I don't like Helms. It's really I'm voting against Helms and not for Hunt because Helms supports death squads in El Salvador and he's against all the things that I think are important. So I'd say Hunt's the man and Helms has just got to be out of the Senate.
Do you support any of Hunt's stances on issues?
Sure. I mean, I think he's a lot more moderate on things like federal funding for education and defense spending and things like that. I don't think I would vote for Hunt against somebody that was more liberal, though, because I think I'm more liberal than Hunt. But
are you planning to vote Democrat in the presidential election as well?
Yes, Democrat there, too. Go Mondale.
If today were Election Day, who would you vote for in the North Carolina Senate race, Hunt or Helms?
Hunt. I would vote for Hunt because I believe he is for all the people, not just for one race or the other. He's for everyone. He makes decisions concerning people in general, not just one race or the other.
Helms.
And why is that?
Because I believe in the way the Republican Party has been leading this country, strong economic comeback, and he has where he stands in the future and how he'll vote.
Hunt, definitely.
And what's your reasoning behind that?
Well, anyone but Jesse Helms.
And then, are you voting for Hunt or against Helms?
Well, more against Helms, but I mean, Hunt has some good ideas. It's not that I'm, just voting for anybody but Helms. I support the Democratic Party, so since Hunt's representing Democrats, then that's why. But Helms, no way.
We're asking the same question to Baxter Hunt, the son of Governor Hunt, and also president of Carolina Students for Hunt. Baxter, if today were Election Day, who would you vote for?
After having weighed all the issues and having watched the debates, I think I'd vote for Governor Hunt.
Now, do you have any particular reasons for that decision?
Well, from a purely selfish point of view, I'm really looking forward to my last year in college being paid for and 2 years of graduate school. But on the other hand, I think he's by far the better candidate. I agree with him on the issues, and I disagree pretty strongly with Senator Helms.
And what's your reasoning behind that?
Well, I feel that he supports the way that I feel about things more than Helms does. And, basically in all his policies and stuff like that. So I would have to vote for him over Helms, who, to me, is not the man for the job.
I think they're both just pretty imbecile. I don't agree with either one of them.
Jesse Helms.
And why is that? What do you feel that Helms stands for?
Well, Jesse Helms backs the President of the United States. When Jesse Helms says something, you can believe him. He's not like Jim Hunt, a windshield wiper. He doesn't move back and forth on the issues. You may not agree with Jesse Helms on every issue, but you know where Jesse Helms stands.
Do you feel there's one key issue in this election?
Unfortunately not. I think right now it's boiled down to a plight between personalities, which is really sad because neither one of them are, I feel like, giving us a whole lot to go on, especially with the recent debates. But if it did boil down to one issue, I think it should be concerned around our future as far as going to war would go, and also our domestic economy.
So in other words, you feel safer by electing a Democrat to office?
Oh, definitely. I really have a great fear that if Helms and Reagan are both back in, we'll be in war before the next 4 years are out.
I would vote for Governor Jim Hunt.
And what's your main reason for that?
Well, in the last 3 debates and over the year, Governor Hunt has basically expressed some very concrete programs and some issues, and has been addressing the issues, while Jesse Helms has been skirting with the issues and just more or less missing a lot of things, and is speaking to a lot of the Neanderthals out there, and it was evident by the last debate.
If today were election day, who would you vote for in the North Carolina Senate race, Hunt or Helms?
Jesse Helms.
And what's your reason for that?
His views coincide with my views more than Hunt does. I don't like the way Hunt doesn't really take a specific stand on any one issue. He just kind of flip-flops a lot. Whereas Helms, he puts his views down, and if you don't agree with him, he tells you not to vote for him.
Do you feel the future of America is better off then with the Democrats in this election year?
In this year, considering the candidates, but not necessarily with the Democrats. And I think I would prefer Jesse Jackson, actually.
Obviously, no one can predict the outcome of the election, but we urge you to speak out and express your preference by voting on November 6th. For STV Campus Profile, I'm Liz Levine.